Spiral, 2 Jews, 2 mics, 2 hours, starting now.
I'm sorry about the way my appearance.
Sometimes that camera's the first look of the day, isn't it?
Yeah, but this shirt has seen its better days.
That's a schmata. That's what that is. I won't ask you how your cold is.
It's much better. It's just, it's like, I sometimes think it's gone away until I realize I have a whole, I have Mucinex in me. Get out of here.
Let me just say, that cough sounds productive if you're not.
Well, that's true. And I think you'd be one of the first people to admit to that.
What's happening over there?
It's very important that I pour myself coffee, but also make sure that I have plenty for later. I wonder if I could ever start something and really feel like I was ready to go.
Apparently not. Not from my 345
what are you, a prognosticator?
Pieces of lab work.
So, okay, let's try it. Let's try it like as if we started and I go right into a story, okay?
Okay. Hi, good morning.
Good. How you doing?
Oh, good. Nice shirt.
Thanks. It's interesting that you bring up the shirt. I was at the short man shop the other day, and this is why you said this a couple of weeks ago. I argued with you. You said, you're not a sketch guy. You're not a guy who would be on a Saturday Night Live.
No.
But I applied for the show. Yes. But did you get on it? I did not get on it. Bingo. Dennis Miller was on that show.
Thank God. That's really my thought was more.
Oh, yeah, I would have been dead by now. Be dead. Can you imagine if I worked at the same time Larry David worked?
I just, I have, my little allergy to false narratives.
Yeah, what's a false narrative? I could have been on that show, you mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yes. But the question is, would I have lasted...
Yeah, but you were in the game, and that's good. What it meant was you were on showbiz's radar enough as a comedian.
Yes, I was. It's show business radar. I should always think of this Rick Overton bit, which is hard to think of a Rick Overton bit now, because his most popular bit is 7-Eleven was an inside job. That can't be right, but I got most of the information. 7-Eleven, 9/11 was an inside job. He said that back then.
Yeah.
He didn't even take him a couple of weeks.
My guess is he didn't relent on that either.
No. But what was I quoting I don't remember quoting his joke now.
I don't know. You didn't know either, so it doesn't matter.
Well, that's not what he's like. So, yeah, like that kind of thing. You look like Satch
Please
Sanders.
Stop with that fucking thing. Jesus Christ. I literally check my hat before you answer, so I don't have to fucking hear that.
What I like about that, besides that it's annoying, is that nobody will ever remember that's his name or cares.
They will, because you hammer it into the fucking ground.
You think I can bring up some excitement for the East Side Kids again?
No one calls them that.
The Dead End Kids.
Or the Bowery Boys, more commonly.
Would that be? That's a bad sign. That's a bad sign about the level of comedy of your particular group, is that nobody can get the name right.
All right.
Are they the Beach Slobs?
Yes.
What was the name of that group you like?
In the 50s, they became the Beach Slobs.
The Beach Slobs?
Yeah.
Was there an award show on? Oh, yeah, I saw SAG.
They're the SAG Awards, I guess. I didn't. Yeah. Of course I didn't watch. But
of course you didn't watch. Do you refer to Oscar as Oscar?
No, I don't.
Okay. And have you seen the Oscar like on TCM, which is what I was really excited about keeping as my default channel, except that you said your father-in-law did it, and I just saw myself as an old.
It's really old. It's old.
Old British man. Old. Hello. Would you like to sit down? We always have.
He was pure American. He was Navy.
Oh,
he was Navy man. He was my stepfather-in-law.
Hey, come on in. We're watching why do I have to do an impression? No one ever asked me to do an impression.
As he lied in home care watching fucking Fox News as a parade of immigrants came in to care for him each day.
Wait. This part I didn't know. I didn't know he was conservative.
He was a lovely man, but
Right.
absolutely
right-wingy.
Absolutely right-wingy, and absolutely like easier to program than a TiVo. It would seem, just based on the various trinkets and shit he had bought from Fox News and stuff and his belongings.
Well, when did they come over? No, they were here the whole time.
Who's that?
Right?
Who's that?
The father-in-law was there.
The father
was born here.
Well, yes, the father-in-law was my mother-in-law's second husband.
But not.
He was from Illinois. Had a long career in the Navy.
But I remember
Cuban Missile Crisis, hovering over
wow,
in a helicopter, dipping a microphone into the water, listening for subs.
Was he connected to the Navy? Because that's a funny joke, right?
No, not so much.
It is. I go,
Not really.
I'll do it.
No,
I'll do it.
Because the way you did it more than the thing.
Oh yeah, because I had someone. Hold on one second. Sorry, America. Wouldn't it be great if America really was listening to this show? Then I could really feel bad. No, it wouldn't be, because we'd be all under pressure. We don't want $100 million deal.
No, I want it, and then I want to blow it.
Well, I feel like the $100 million, my favorite murder mystery deals are off the table now. That's what I
think we missed the golden age. Yeah.
Hey, whoa! Do we have any room for any kind of 8-figure deals? Is it 8 or 9?
9 in some cases.
Have you heard Andy Kindler and I think they're both Jews. Click. All right, here's the show. They're both Jews. Click. Yeah, right.
Hello.
And yeah, they're very sly. One guy is like, they're like, one guy's, I think he's reaching 70. Click. Is it a podcast about old people and how they die? No. That's not what it is.
That's the subplot.
Only the one guy is really old. The other guy's like 53.
Speaking of old people dying, which is a terribly indelicate segue.
Well, it's a good sequitur. Yeah.
I was very sad to learn that Joe Flaherty, who I worked with on Freaks and Geeks, and
that's terrible.
Absolutely love the man. Is in very poor, failing health, and there has been an appeal for money to help with his home care, so he doesn't.
Well, I'll help with. I mean, I should contribute to that, but it's like, is it something that he can live with a little bit, or is it just like a dementia thing?
No, I don't know what it is. They haven't said what he's sick with, but what a lovely man, and what like this sort of crucial peg in like everything we love about 70s comedy,
No question about it.
From Second City to National Lampoon, from Second City Chicago to Second City Toronto to SCTV to National Lampoon to just everything, and he just connects all those people that we love.
Yeah,
and he was just really a nice man and really fun.
Wait, tell me again when you met him.
Freaks and Geeks.
Oh! Was he a regular recurring?
Yeah, he played the main two characters' father.
Oh, I do remember that.
And one of the great thrills I had of my writing career was writing like a drunk scene for Joe to play, which is very fun.
And it's great to hear that he was cool to work with. That's always good. It's always a bonus.
And it didn't hurt that he was a huge Mystery Science Theater fan and knew who I was. But
yeah,
but it was. But when I saw him like 10 years after the show, and the fact that he remembered me was like literally like a thrill for me. So
that's great. That's got. Well, I don't have the run, and mine's not as good as yours. But my ex-comedy partner, Bill Kaufman, who's now a therapist, if you want, marriage, family, child counseling, we lived on this story for years. We dined out ourselves on this story that Joe Flaherty just happened to be hanging out with when Bill was bartending. This would be, when Bill was not therapizing, and just hung out with, tolerated all of Bill's, every single one of Bill's references, and was just the nicest guy in the world.
He loved talking about it. He absolutely enjoyed talking about the old days, and he, and it wasn't, he was just like a lovely man, you know.
And so back then,
and I know even when like Trace and Frank did a show together in Chicago, he came out to see them several years ago.
And I played a part because, I just realized something. I wonder if this was the beginning of him being ill. When I played Chris Jericho's manager it was like a show in Canada where I was his manager. He's a wrestler, famous wrestler, trying to do acting things. I was supposed to be Joe Flaherty. I was supposed to have the part that I got.
Yeah.
But he couldn't. I think he must have been. You know what? Maybe someone died. I think someone died in his family then. Yeah. This couldn't be a proceeding for this long.
Yeah, no, I don't think he was. I've seen him since you did Chris Jericho, I think. So.
You know what the thing is, like, again, from a very naive Kittle standpoint, if I saw him, be like, that guy's got it. He has got. Well, in a certain sense, he did have it made, in the sense that he was extremely respected and loved. But the idea that he'll never have to worry again to make a living.
Yeah, I mean, it's like he never had starring roles. You know, he never. It's like you can't, aside from SCTV residual flow, which isn't great at this point. You go, where would his giant check have come from? I don't think there is one.
No, well, because he didn't really. I'm trying to think of all the SCTV people, like Rick Moranis and Dave Thomas. They had that Hosers thing before. I mean, they were big stars in Canada.
But Rick Moranis had Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, and Dave Thomas was on
after the Hosers?
On Grace Under Fire for years. And,
right.
Yeah, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids was years after the Strange Brew movie.
Okay, so see, to me, I don't even see.
Martin
I never
Short and Gil Ragnar
Short.
was in that. It was in that Canada group.
Well, and there's some people like Catherine. You say Catherine
O'Hara?
And then Emily Latilla. No, the woman who's on Andrea
Martin.
Yeah. I didn't hear if you said that. Wait a second.
I did.
It says Make a Wish. My mail message came in. Make a wish. I can't believe it's happening. I'm not dying, but I asked if I could meet Kareem Abdul-Jabbar because I feel like I'd die if I didn't meet him.
Yeah.
And I think it's come through.
That's fantastic. I have met Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Okay, tell me that I know, I've heard mixed feelings. Like, of course, people go, oh, back in the 60s, he was a little edgy. Yeah, back when he was demonstrating. And stuff. Yeah. But so I've heard mixed things, but I love him. I've always loved him.
Yeah.
I love his politics and everything.
He didn't seem that happy to meet me.
But he
was very tall and had a very large hand.
Frank Smiley? Of course you do, right?
Sure.
Frank Smiley.
He'd be hilarious next to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
He would always do these types of things. I just happened to mention to him. I said, no, but I never get to meet Shaq. I don't get to meet Shaq. Nobody cares. And I'm about 5 minutes later. Andy, very nice to meet you. Frank has sent Shaq over.
Yeah.
I had to tell, a lot of people don't remember now. I feel like an old man. How funny Conan was. I know they do remember how funny Conan was, I think. But in terms of talk shows, I don't think I remember that. His talk show, and I'm only saying because I was on many times, his talk show was kind of cool when it came out. When it first came out.
Oh, when it first came out, they were stumbling and rumbling, but...
Right, yes, yeah.
Because I was on the show after him at the time, and they were like, it was all about, like, grooming Kinnear for when Conan failed, basically, for the first year or two. But I always admired their show just because they threw so much shit at the wall,
Yeah. And he's always, to me, been a very funny guy, like a funny guy.
Yeah, I don't know how fun a hang he would be, but I think he's very funny.
Yeah, he was always, I was completely clueless to stuff because one time after my show, I had a set and he came in and clowned, and my sister was there. He clowned around with my sister and me for like a half hour, and then he was like asking, "Do you live here?" Or like, I think if I said to him, "I live here," I could have maybe gotten a job writing on the show. I think that's what he was noodling around.
False narratives and how we tell them to ourselves.
No. Well, wait, that's almost like brush with greatness in a way, right? Brush with greatness.
Yeah.
But that's not the end of the story, is it, Andy? I don't know. I think the idea of nostalgia for the great, for me, for Letterman, and for other people, Carson, I don't see how it could possibly come back in any form like that again as a talk show. I think because someone who could dominate the zeitgeist.
No.
We're all talking about him at the. We don't even have water coolers anymore.
That's true. It's true.
Forget about
a very astute.
It's not nice when someone's pretty much known as being stupid to describe them as astute with your little smirk. Very good.
I don't accept the premise that you're known as stupid.
Thank you. And thank you. And scene. This is what we've been working on at my podcast. This is a lot of podcasts. There's a lot of podcasts, as you know, hosted by two people, and a lot of them do not get along.
Well, it's true.
So that's why.
But it's hilarious. Their fiction is hilarious.
See, that's not true. At the workshops, we go, see, you do have anger at each other that could be funny, but just yelling, "You're a fucking idiot," and he's a fucking idiot. I really am starting to get. It's comedy boot camp just for duos.
Yeah.
Just for duos. Now, you people have to know that a duo has very, very rarely ever made money. So you better be here for the love of the duo.
That's right. The only way it works is if you're a married duo. Then you take the check home to the same house.
Crazy. Yes, Gracie.
What the fuck?
I met
Was that when Edward G. Robinson and Gracie Allen?
Say goodnight, Gracie. Yeah.
Well, you haven't asked me or congratulated me, but it's been maybe, I don't know when the last time I even have MSNBC on or any news. No news. I'm actually, excuse me. I'm actually have to catch up to the stories sometimes.
Yeah. And I'm supposed to congratulate you for that?
Yeah, thank you. I don't.
No, I didn't.
Interestingly enough, I'm sorry.
You stole
Interestingly enough, having watched no news, I've missed no stories.
Yeah.
No stories. Other Republicans don't want to do it. If I listened to the day by day of the Republicans, I would shoot myself in the head.
Yeah.
So I know it's going to be months and months, and then maybe there will be something or there won't be something. But I'm a new person.
That was good.
How long will it last?
Don't care.
Okay, good. It's a good thing. When you say you don't care, you don't mean like you don't care about, but you're just saying.
No, I'm just saying let it play out is what I'm saying.
I miss nothing, and I people say, don't you miss watching Trump destroy all of these other horrible candidates? No, I don't enjoy that. Did you know that Nikki Haley lost in her own state? I'm not surprised because she's from a state with a lot of fucking racists. Oh, edgy. Book me on something. Like a political.
Yeah.
Politics times.
All right. I got you Meet the Press.
Oh. And I want to apologize. No, there's no reason to apologize because if you start apologizing, you'll never stop. But years ago, when people would say, why don't you just not watch that, you stupid idiot? I go, I have to watch it because Morning Joe is influencing. No, they were right. There's no reason to watch it.
It's true.
And there's no reason to give any kind of street cred to Morning Joe, to even argue about him.
Never did. Never have.
Right. Or to feel bad about the direction, to wonder, will Meet the Press ever be saved?
See, the problem, the real problem with bitching about MSNBC is nobody watches it.
No, who do they watch?
There's like 1 million people watching this.
Well, they don't watch CNN anymore, do they? There's nobody?
Like 1.5 million people watching CNN, and there's like maybe 2 watching Fox. It's really an outsized sense of.
Even
influence.
if it's Fox News, it's still not a large number of people. It's yeah.
I mean, they have bigger primetime numbers for their fucking horrible Nazi headliner shows, but
wait, they have better numbers for that?
Yeah, but not like you'd think. Not like not like good TV numbers that you'd think of.
Well, it's so surprising because that's a guy who never said a funny thing in his life, and I'm surprised that he's not able to become a
I'm not talking
TV
about
comedian.
Gutfield. I'm talking more about the.
Who's it nice?
Like what's his face? Like Sean Hannity and those people.
Oh, who replaced Tucker Carlson?
I don't know.
I can't imagine though a life where I would be in. I still am always amazed at any comedian that drifts towards the right wing. I just don't understand the attraction to it. I mean, and some of these people, I'm not saying Jimmy Dore types.
Yeah.
I'm talking about people who seem to be right wing. They're not making any money from it. They seem to just feel that way.
Well, I think part of it is that you go, it's easier to get applause than laughs. So I'll go be a fucking, cheerleader instead of a comedian.
Yes. There's a guy I worked with. I don't even was going to say his name because I don't really want to say his name. But oh my God, he was a guy. I remember he was a sweetheart guy. And in fact, I called him once when my dad, when he first got tongue cancer, and then I had taken a Xanax, and this guy said, I called him up. I remember talking to him. And he's like, this guy went from well, here's the thing. He probably was not a sweet guy.
Weird, convoluted half
story.
No,
he told me that when I had spoken to him for an hour on the phone, which I don't remember because it was the first time I ever took a significant amount of Xanax.
Okay. And that
upon the news of my father having cancer.
Okay.
So he said, you had a wonderful 1 hour conversation this is the way he used to talk. Wonderful conversation with me. And all. And so he's like one of these, but no, he wasn't that nice a guy. I'm sure he was pretty hideous then. And just able to cover it. But then the road less traveled, my friend, I would like to do a documentary, except it would bore me to death, of 10 of these types of people.
Yeah. Never set out to make a documentary you don't want to watch.
Owen Benjamin is another guy. Have you heard that name?
I know the name. I don't know any.
These people like Owen Benjamin's like, white people, we are the only race now. Why would you say, oh, I'm wrong? Oh, I'm wrong? White people are not the best race? Oh, it's like that kind of a situation.
Yeah.
Starting, strength and shocking numbers.
Right.
Yeah. That's all I got on it, man.
The shameless majority.
Oh, Mr. Bush, boom, 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 boom. What you doing, Mr. Bush? I'm on the Capitol steps. I'm walking up the steps, Mr. Bush. I'm walking down the Capitol steps, Mr. Bush. Get it? It's the Capitol. Get it? It's the Capitol. Steps, 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 steps. Who thinks Congress can solve our problems? Nobody. Come on, is that what their musicals are like?
Exactly like that. Exactly like that.
Mr. Haldeman, give those tapes to the court. I tried to fake laugh my way into that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That part being. And what's being played this week on Kindler and on Kindler Weinstein television? Which is do we know? Is there something is still a surprise? Is what I'm thinking.
What are you talking about?
Do people know that we did something experimental?
What, with our guests?
Yes.
Oh, Jesus, yes. Why are you being so fucking
Because I thought maybe because I didn't know. I thought it was a big secret.
No, we've talked about it like 19 times.
When's that coming out, baby?
Let's do it today. Let's make the second hour you and Gary. And then next week we'll make the second hour me and Jen. The original concept was to do hour, but then we rob our core listeners of this magic.
Yeah, we don't. Oh,
also, I haven't edited either of the conversations yet, and I can't.
Right.
It's too much work in 1 week.
Fun.
I'll space it out.
Does that mean we don't have to get together on Friday?
Yes, that's what it means.
Oh, Josh, you've done such wonderful things. That's not a good attitude. I should be ready to go. I want to have one of these articles written about me, Andy Kindler.
Suddenly you're the Capitol steps and it's hilarious? Is that what you think?
It's the nuclear freeze. The nuclear froze. I think there is something on my toes.
I'm more of a Mark Russell man myself.
Like that, right?
That's the deficit rag.
Now, he is still alive, or maybe not.
I think he may have passed away, but I know
That's
he
the
retired.
deficit
He
rag.
retired.
Singing the deficit rag.
Someone just chewed their food.
No, I've heard that joke. I've heard you do the joke before. Don't talk about me like I'm a mental patient. Yet. No visitors.
All right, don't look.
Why do we have to go through Josh every time we see Andy? What do you mean he's no visitors? He's not seeing anybody.
He's not seeing anybody. He wouldn't like him.
Well, where's his wife? She's not here either.
He's alienated everybody.
And what would be your game? You have to have a game, like, can you poison me?
What's my
slowly?
long game? My long game is getting that brother money.
Hi, Bobby.
It's keeping you on life support.
It's the worst thriller movie ever. Hi, Robbie. It's me. Andy?
I'm in a jam.
But you died 3 weeks ago from inertia. You were the first person who died literally from having nothing going on in your career. It got to be one of those days where he couldn't even look forward to
rumors of my death are greatly exaggerated.
And then you got Truman Capote. Oh, I'm the bad guy because I said exactly.
Just because I betrayed everybody who was dear to me in my life and thought they'd laugh it off.
Yeah, I thought they would think it was funny when I gave out every horribly embarrassing secret from their marriage.
When I tattled on those long-necked whores.
Now, wait a second. Now, Truman, are you still this bitter about it?
I'm not happy about the whole thing.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's your fault. I can tell you as someone...
You don't tell things to a writer.
Look, I'm a comedian. Have you heard of me?
I thought I camouflaged who they were, exactly.
Take a tip from me, who said one thing about Jay Leno in 1994 and hasn't gotten the gig for third. You don't want to bite the hand that feeded you.
It wasn't because you insulted Leno you didn't get the gig.
What was
False narrative.
Those long necks. So stupid. First of all, I don't even understand the theory that the swans are in some kind of different animal game than the rest of the people. Is that what he seems to be saying?
Take a look at their necks, seriously.
But what is he saying? If you look under the water, you'll see them furiously paddling. That's the same way I swim.
Yes, but you're very short-necked.
You're like... Oh, I want to turn him into this.
You're not one of the money Jews.
God, could you imagine, Truman, if you had been Jewish, how badly you would have been,
I would have hit the Borscht Belt.
Well, that's true, because I think you were very, very, very funny.
I was very funny. Very funny. Those bitches didn't understand.
Yeah, but for example, in Cold Blood,
yes,
many people think you manipulated this guy who was on death row so you could get more publicity for yourself.
It's a good book, though, isn't it?
It is a good book. You really
pretty damn good. Not a bad movie either.
And I'm assuming that you kept in touch with the Clutter family all these years, and if that's her name,
I sent them. I sent them subsequent books, or at least I instructed my publisher to do so.
Would you screw somebody that you already screwed before? Let's say you wrote a book about the long-necked swans. Would you go back to the same well if you needed a couple of dollars?
Well, sure, certainly.
But your whole thing
is... You can never burn a bridge too many times.
And your whole point was this is kind of what these ladies knew it, right? They understood what you were doing.
Not just knew it, they deserved it.
They deserved it. So you have no problem with your career and your legacy going down in flames, and that people just kind of don't see you anymore as the brilliant writer. They think you as a manipulative kind of social climber.
No, they think of me as a genius.
I have to tell you, I still do, Truman. I still do.
Seriously, that was a good book. It was a good book.
It was a good book. Also, you were very good on the talk show.
Breakfast at Tiffany's, a delight. Mickey Rooney wasn't my idea.
Yeah, but why did you think you wouldn't keep trying to call that one lady, the one Swan lady? You kept calling her. That seems pathetic to me. Please take my calls. I'm Truman. Please.
I needed money.
I love it. You have supplied Truman with kind of an upbeat character.
Shit happens.
Oh my God. I see you going around the country, Truman in concert.
Did I ever tell you how I wrote To Kill a Mockingbird?
No. Wait, now you were friends with Hunter Lee or that
Harper? Yes, I was.
Harper, yeah.
Yes,
so,
we were very good friends. I was very supportive. Wink, wink.
Wait, are you saying you wrote the book?
I'm not saying anything of the sort.
Don't you think? Here's a woman. Can't you give let Harper Lee have what she had? Do you have to go into and steal her thunder as well?
She has her thunder. I'm just saying.
And ladies and gentlemen,
wink,
you
wink.
now know how it feels. Rehearsals for Andy and Bill. This is the way we would be all day long.
Really? You just tried to improvise bits all day?
We didn't put that much time into it. We put a lot of time into, we could do this. We can do this. This guy does it. Why can't we do it? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
And he was right. We could do it. Not him. I still never forget the time I tried to sell our entire act to O'Brien and Valdez for $200.
That is really,
the whole act.
that is really the bottom. The bottom.
You know what? I would have had, you know what, if I had, the only difference would have been I'd have an extra $300 or whatever to have had nice time on the road if I'd sold it.
I had a friend who I came up with in Minneapolis, and he quit and sold his act to some act. And I saw the guy like on Last Comic Standing years later, like he did a bit. I went, hey, that's Paul's bit. And then he did another one. That's Paul's bit too. And he had literally like that almost 5-minute set was all my friend Paul Williams jokes.
Wow. That he did sell.
He did sell, yeah.
How come I can't tell what time it is anymore?
Dementia.
What do you have? I see. I have a clock over here. Oh my God. And I know what Einstein meant when he was talking about the
hair gel.
To me, it is the greatest thing of all the different jokes that people have about E equal. They have so many jokes about E equals MC squared in lieu of really being able to. No, we do understand it, but it's just, I don't think. It's not a thing that once you get it, you go back to every day. Yes, I do in my head.
Sure.
But I go, look, what they're saying is that time is relative. The time, it might not be absolute on its own. Time could be a function of space and time. Don't you feel better?
But that's a corollary. That's E equals MC squared is energy equals mass times the speed of light squared.
What's the corollary? Don't make me feel bad. What, Daddy?
I'm just
Daddy,
saying.
what'd you say?
I'm saying the time stuff came later.
Oh, I told you I saw Oppenheimer, though, right? Yeah, I loved it.
You said you saw part of it when we last
saw the rest of it.
Fantastic.
I enjoyed that. Guy is Oppenheimer. He is. Cillian Murphy is Oppenheimer. I don't see the difference, literally.
Cillian.
And it's pronounced Killian.
It's so weird that I would get a pronunciation of a name wrong.
It is not like you. That's why.
It's not Cillian Murphy?
It's not.
And it's pronounced Killian.
Oh, he was in something else. I want to see this now. Peaky Blinders. Have you seen?
I have not seen Peaky Blinders.
Okay, well, that's what I'm going to watch.
Okay.
Not now. No, not while we're still doing the show.
All right.
Okay. No. So do you have any big plans coming up for the spring? Are you going anywhere?
I'm going to San Francisco in a couple of weeks.
Are you doing Sketchfest?
No, I'm going to a bar mitzvah.
Wait, is this the bar mitzvah you got out of last time, and now they're redoing it?
No.
Okay, now is this the type of thing where is it also family member, right?
Family member, yes.
If you back out of this one, will your name ever be Mud in the family?
It might be there already. I don't know.
well, boy, are you close to your family if you don't even know whether they like you or not. I don't go to people's bar mitzvahs. Am I that much older than you that it would be ridiculous that I would go to a grandniece's christening? I don't think I have any Jewish grandnephews or nieces because they were raised Christian. So what am I going to do? I used to like to just complain
Apologize
to them.
to God.
I just go, I can't even believe it, Emily. God damn it with the Christian thing.
He rips.
No, I never was. What's that?
You rip your clothes.
I never. See, it was like when I heard that he was raising the kids Christian with a good Christmas. I was like, well, that's it. They're in. Boom. I'll see you when you're 21.
Give it a shot. You said.
Give it a shot. And they won't be going to Hebrew school 4 days a week. Good. Sign them up for that. Oh my God, were we tortured? But I think Christian kids are tortured.
You're taking my childhood. You didn't go to Hebrew school 4 days a week.
No, but I'm saying many people did.
Yes.
Many people were in your situation. I am the first one to say right now that what I had to go through was nothing like you had to go through. I had to go on Sunday to religious school. I hated it every Sunday like poison. Then when near my bar mitzvah, I had to go in on a Thursday. Did not like it, except I like Cantor Abelson a lot. But I feel as if, and I also had this image that you learned more things from it. Like you had a deeper understanding of Judaism. That's where I really went off the thing. You don't.
No, I think I do.
I mean, you do. You have more knowledge.
I think I have a much more knowledge.
No, that's not what I meant. I meant you're not attracted to the religion anymore.
No.
Than I am.
No. That I'll give you. But I know what I'm missing way more than you.
I do. And as I was thinking, like, how much more do you know than me? I know.
Let me count the ways, people.
I know the same story in Maccabiah Shiva Zozo times. The in Camelot. I know the same holiday over and over again without comprehension and without caring. Now, Gregor, he was singing while Mordecai was swinging. Mordecai was singing while Haman, he was swinging. But you got a more sophisticated thing because you were conservatives and you actually believed in the religion. Where the reformers were like, this is a terrible religion. How can we kind of like low play it?
How can we make it digestible for the contemptuous masses?
I mean, really, the Reformed Jews, why didn't we just say we give up? Why did we have to say?
Reformed Jews are just like, well, you can't shake your name. You might as well come.
And I hope that you all like our...
At least get the bar mitzvah money, is what Reformed Jews are saying.
And our Rabbi Gold, what would be the second part of Gold that would make it not Jewish?
That would make it not...
not Jewish.
Goldschmidt.
Because I always love when I watch the Academy Awards. But Jaime Schmagel Spedinky Google came here from, and he became Adolf Manju. Well, that's not exactly right, but something like that. They hated their name because, like you say, assimilation. Hey, you looking too Jewish over there. Get him out of here.
All right.
Right?
No, the only Jews who kept their names were the ones at the top. And they told the other Jews to change their names. Who
kept their names at the top who was Jewish?
Goldwyn.
Oh, that's right. Wait. They were not, but the Warner was definitely Warnerized.
Yes, it was not.
Harry Cohn. Harry Cohn was Jewish.
Exactly. My point.
It's like a relative explaining to me why I should get in the business. Harry Cohn was Jewish. He was wonderful.
There's a thing with Allison and I where she gets... we had a thing this weekend because she was like, Adam Schiff is Jewish? And I laughed and laughed. And she got very mad at me. And I just had to, because this had happened once before with Rick Siegel. Is Rick Siegel Jewish? And everyone laughed and laughed at her. But I had to explain to her that it doesn't make you a bad person for not having Jewdar.
No, it does not. It does not.
But you have to understand that Jews are walking around going, everyone knows we're Jewish. Everyone's looking at us thinking Jew. So the thought that someone else couldn't identify a Jew is anathema to us because we think everyone is looking at us going Jew and then
Jew.
The rest.
Wow, I say to myself, and then I reject the exact same thing. See, I think that there will be a time period where Judaism will come back as a more oh God, I just went one statement too far. You know, you can't say that I let the thing go off the track. I think I'm getting better though, because I really realize now that for 3 weeks, since I've been back from that, I've had this congestion through me, and I can attend any kind of mood changes or any downtime that there's been on the podcast or anything that looks like it's not A+ work. I ascribe to this horrible, racking cold that has just about beaten me to an inch of my life.
Well,
it's a miracle.
Let me just say it's a poor carpenter who blames his phlegm.
You know, I went out for that Mucinex guy. I went out for that.
Wow.
No, it was. You don't remember when it was live action?
You're not a sketch guy.
But there was live action, which I thought was stupid anyway. So, but I had to stay in this
I think of you more as a painful itch.
I had to stay in this mucus outfit. You couldn't even barely breathe. You'd think at least they'd have something by the nose. And I had to be in this big mucus outfit. And you I'm mucus. Shut up. Here I come. Never. That was one of the things I got very upset with early at commercial auditions. I even wrote a whole thing to my agent, Bruce, at the time, about what I would not do. No joke clothing, no lab coats.
Yeah. And he laughed at it.
Well, I never, well, that was when
okay, Elvis, he said.
Oh man, I had a lot of material that
you
was
played a tomato, for God's sakes. No one will hire you.
A tomato wouldn't do it. It was almost like Albert Brooks Hoffman.
Well, I was doing actually Albert Brooks' Pollock.
Oh, yeah. And you don't think I can outstare you?
Well, you're doing it out of confusion, then.
Andy, can you do it one more time, but less confused? That's all I can give you is more confused or more out of. How do you want me to play this? Like I know what the words mean, or I'm not listening to the other actors. Which way do you want it? I look in the general direction of where I think the other actor is.
Right.
That's the best I can do.
I've been taught to look at their tie knot.
I'm not embarrassed after all the thousands of years of acting that when you act, especially when you're on a sitcom or anything, your first thing is to think, I should look like I'm I think early on, one of the, again, this was before I had thousands of years in the wars, but early on, the instinct would be to, oh God.
Wait for your line and then go to town.
Yes. 2, 3, 4. Count 2, 3, 4. But then as I got comfortable with my narcissism, then what I would do is I would project another face of me onto that person that I was, it would be like I'm talking to myself.
Ah, that's good.
But you know what I'm talking about. It's just like when we were doing the fiddling schmoople.
Uh-huh.
You would never think about, let's say you were in a bar, you'd never think about how am I looking? Am I looking like I'm listening? Only when you're acting. But maybe you don't think that. Maybe your mind is like.
I had a weird experience acting. I had the opposite experience that I thought I would have, in that I really, really shed self-consciousness when I was acting.
Oh, that's so good.
I mean, it might have made me a shitty actor. I'm not saying it worked for me, but I'm saying I was shocked at how little I was worrying about how I looked.
Yes, yes. Well, I think as somebody who took acting classes but didn't major in it because of the thing, that's what those exercises are supposed to do, is to get you just to get you more comfortable.
The other thing was that was really my singular mission in doing that thing was just like, you're not an actor, but you know what sucks, and what sucks, what sucks is people who aren't committed.
Right.
So I really was like, I really tried to give myself over to being in it,
Well, we were playing people who were being devious.
Yes.
So I often would think of that while I was acting.
So your motivation was much clearer than mine in that movie.
Right. So I said, Andy, do you know what you're saying here? No, that's the point. You're trying to look like you don't know what you're saying.
All right.
That's my wheelhouse.
That's my wheelhouse. Well, 99% of acting and 1% of no, you really aren't thinking about technique or anything. I mean, I'm sure there are some, but it's like they're not. Any of those things, like where they prepare for 7 years, they're doing it so that hopefully, unless you're Jim Carrey, who walks around, I'm Andy Kaufman now. I'm Andy Kaufman. Jim, I'm not Jim. I'm Andy Kaufman. Because people, like the guy who's very serious, I think he's great, is the guy from Succession. That guy, Jesse, is that what his name was? Not Jesse Armstrong. The one guy who's like the lead brother who murdered somebody in the show.
Yeah. The one who looks like Don Jr.
Yeah, he always has, like, when he's interviewed, he says like weird, crazy things, and it's like, but I just think it's like delightful. I think they do all these things to get them into the mood. Right. And I think normally, who cares? And also, at the end of the day, who cares what they were thinking if it worked for them?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's absolutely true, unless it's interfering with other actors' processes.
Well, I think what Bruce Carney was doing, but Jim Carrey was doing, was interfering. Excuse me.
But that doesn't matter because that was his starring role, I think.
It was his starring role, and I also you told me, Pink told me that the guys in Spinal Tap also do that. Before the show.
Oh, yeah.
We're Spinal Tap. But I don't have to get ready for something where I'm doing impressions.
No, you're not a sketch comic.
What? I didn't even bring it up that time. Someone brought me this idea, and they said, I don't know if you're going to like it. It's a little bit sketchy. And what you're saying is, obviously.
No wonder you didn't understand it.
Could I play man number 4? No.
I know, you told me through your actions that you are not good for a sketch show. With your, when you got irate that they asked you what your prop looks like that your sketch is based around.
No, we didn't. We didn't get irate. We ad-libbed. We weren't irate. We were confused. Neither one of us knew what they meant by what does the machine look like. Now, were we angry when we didn't get the job? I don't know. I think I was. I think I had an interesting. It's a very interesting. James Mason was in another movie that was like, James Mason's in this movie.
Oh, okay.
Come on. It was a movie, one of the Oscar things.
Was it A Star Is Born with Judy Garland?
Yes, that's exactly what it was. How was he like in that movie?
I was brilliant, of course.
But I've never seen it. Is that the best version of The Star Is Born?
Well, it depends how you feel about Bradley Cooper and the like.
Yeah, what's your take on him? I mean, I think you'd really like him.
I think
because he's an actor.
He's a young talent.
I don't think he's going to win for Maestro. I think he should have started Maestro closer to Oscar season or something.
I don't know. He could take acting for Maestro, and it wouldn't be undeserving.
It wouldn't be. And the woman who won for Flower Moon is great.
Yeah,
she's really great. But I watched that movie, and I still don't quite remember much of it.
Yeah,
I think it's going on me now. Early dementia. Yeah.
No, it's a hard movie to, because it's 3 hours of doom.
But nobody was altered for that movie, right?
What you mean?
Like didn't he make the Irishman?
Yeah, no one was.
What did they do to the people?
And in a way, it was like that was a flaw of the movie, I thought, because DiCaprio is really too old to be playing that role.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I have to remember now all the plot.
But in The Irishman, they digitally de-aged their faces for flashback scenes.
That's why I won't do acting anymore.
That's right.
I'm not being de-aged.
Stop de-aging me with your eyes.
I'm not going out there and AI will take me. Well, you haven't been that particularly successful with your persona, Andy. Why would you think it would be so big with that? Oh, yeah, I know they're just going to, but they won't give me any credit for my gems. I don't really understand AI. I do understand it. But I saw a thing on 60 Minutes about quantum computing, which, oh my God, that's going to be good. They already have it.
Yeah.
But it's just, I watched it in 60 Minutes, and when I was watching, I was like, I understand this completely.
Yeah.
Can't wait to tell Josh. Well, Josh, you're going to say we talked for less than an hour because I was 3 minutes late. Bang, 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 bang. But if you think about it, Josh, Elvis Weinstein, I was on my game. He was on his game, Josh. He was on his game, Josh. I heard every word you said. Go ahead, try me.
Hi.
Hi. You just said hi. Oh, hoo hee, boo boo. 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 Oh, boo boo. Boo boo.
Hey, oh, it's time to step away. Hey, oh, cause we run out of stuff to say. Hey, oh, we're going to take a break. Hey, oh, but the point I'm here to make is that we're going to be right back. 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 Don't have a heart attack, cause we're going to be right back. No need to give us slack. Yes, we're going to be right back.
Do you have anything you'd like to preface your conversation with Gary Gulman?
Oh, okay. Well, this is the thing. I just want to say that sometimes, and I don't want you to take this personally, but it's almost like if you've been suffocated by somebody for 14 years. No, it was actually, and I don't know how you felt it with Jen, but it was like, it was fun. And it's like they're not tired of the show yet.
Right.
So it was generally a lot of fun.
Well, you weren't actually doing the show. You were just having a conversation. That's really what
we were just having a conversation. That's true. But did you do the show? How could you do it without me?
I didn't.
No such thing.
I didn't do the show. I talked to Jen.
And when you talk to Jen, you go, how could we, I don't know what I was thinking when I said replace him. Or how could I think of not doing more shows? I cry when I think of I could be broke for this many more years.
So maybe that one. Maybe
that one.
Yeah.
Okay. Gary, now you just said something that I found both interesting, compelling, and also I find it interesting.
And a third thing.
Did you ever use anti-disestablishmentarianism when you learned a certain amount of words and that was your go-to word? Because I don't even know if that is a word.
It's a really good word. Disestablishmentarianism.
I'm sorry, Gary. I just feel very phlegmatic. I don't understand why I feel phlegmatic.
Is it the coffee?
I don't know what the word means. I always should know what the word means beforehand. It means like kind of like bored. I can't be a wordsmith like you because I don't have the words to back up what the word means. Well, what does that one mean? Does it mean you're chilly? What do you mean excoriate? Okay, here's one thing I have to ask you, Gary.
Yeah.
I have always been steamed by this. Steamed and steamed Plus on Paramount Plus. That people, and then I feel like I'm the idiot because I think I am an idiot. I am very upset when people use utilize instead of use.
Mm-hmm.
Because they only use it in the context of like there's some kind of sophisticated talking or, some kind of a topic that they feel like I'm a scientist. So I utilize all of the scientific equipment that I have. Yeah. Tell me why I'm wrong, Gary.
Well, my thing is that I try not to repeat words in a joke, but when I'm on stage, but when I'm just talking to my friends, I would say use over utilize, unless I was trying to call attention to somebody who is sounding pompous or verbose. I don't like that. The thing about the comedy act is you have all day to make it sound right, and you shouldn't overuse the same word. So maybe I would use utilize, but there's got to be something. There's usually something better.
Here is one of the most difficult moments that I have. Yes, I'm a genius. Yes, it's hard. Yes, and yes, people can. I often will hear I can't say the context, but someone not using a word correctly, like mispronouncing it or whatever.
Sure.
And the other side of me is I hate when people shame people for spelling it. I mean, I don't hate that. And if someone's really annoying me and they misspell as they're annoying me, then I may point it out. But I think spelling, my sister my sister Janet Kindler, God rest her soul, was an administrator and a teacher for many years, and she showed me that spelling doesn't count. It doesn't. It's like I spell pretty good. It's a facility that you have. It's not something that's necessarily based on intelligence. And so it's like getting upset at people who say axe. Ray Romano says axe.
Yeah, so, it's dialect. I learned, luckily, very early on not to look down upon people who spoke with a dialect or correct them. And that was helpful because frequently these dialects are poetic and really insightful, and the cleverness involved is really impressive. I wanted to share a story that Brian Kiley told me last night, and I will not mention the comedian, but it has an intersection with I think what we're talking about here, which is when people are misinformed and also doing crowd work. This is a great example. A comedian performing in Israel asked a person sitting in the front row what their name was. And the person said Moses. And then this dim comedian said, "What are you, lining up animals 2 by 2 and putting them on an ark?" And Brian told me this story last night at around 11 p.m. I just stopped laughing when we signed into the Zoom. It made me so happy. And here's the thing. The audience laughed, I think, out of politeness because he wasn't a Jewish person, but Moses is our Jesus. You should know that Moses had nothing to do with the flood. The Exodus story comes way after.
Well, I have two good examples of this. One from my act, which was featured on Dr. Katz. I'm not sure the exact episode. Bing, bang, boop, beep, boop, boop, boop.
I don't like that secretary that Katz employs. She's mean to all the people. I also see Dr. Katz. He's my therapist.
Right.
And I go in there and the secretary makes me feel 6 inches high. She's condescending. She's dismissive. She's rude. And then I tell Katz, and the next time she's the one I have to check in with, and it's like
unbelievable.
You didn't speak to her. She's cool.
I think you see the thing is a lot of people would say, well, that's just in the show. But I think you're making a further point, because one time she talked about my breath. This goes beyond cartoons. You know what I'm saying? everybody who's seen me now thinks, oh, it's Breath Man. Hey, Breath Man. Because she didn't have material. She was reading out of her Rickles book.
Yeah, she does. Easy Crowd Work is the name of the book by Don Rickles.
No, but we're kidding because we're both personal friends with that person and we love her. And we only joke from when it comes from, you know what I say about comedians? What was that Rick Reynolds who had that thing was, only the truth is funny, but it was such a ridiculous premise. He had like a show, only the truth is funny. And he took an example of, like him and his brother laughing about something. And, Rick, only the truth is funny. But then he earlier goes, now, you see, like I have things that are funny in my act, but they don't make any sense. So he does this thing of a lounge singer who's like, paralyzed from the neck up. It's hilarious. It's hilarious, right? And he goes, oh, I can't do that now because that's not real. And that confused me. Yeah. He's getting a laugh. Once you get a laugh, I don't think you can't then you have to go and say my premise was not correct when I said only the truth was funny.
Right.
That was the one man show.
No, I agree. But tell me about the Dr. Katz experience.
The Dr. Katz experience in general or as a human?
Well, the one that you were about to relay to me when I interrupted you and talked about secretary.
Now, you know that this is happening with me, right? You know that this is going around. Everyone knows this now. We're trying to keep a lid on it under the podcast. My mind, and it's not funny because the doctor, I can't remember his name, says I have memory problems. Here's another joke I just wrote that I thought was very good. I had a long talk with my therapist the other day. 52 minutes, something like that. In other words, it's always a long time. It was great. I had a long talk with my therapist the other day, and I was like, 52 minutes. You'll figure it out because you have signed on, right, to help me with everything?
Yeah, I signed up. Yes. Do you want to do the notes now? I have them in my notebook.
Yeah, let's do the notes now. But first, let me say this. Jonah Ray, you know Jonah Ray, right?
Oh yeah, very talented.
Yeah, very talented. I was making fun of Joe Coy. Joe Coy's hosting of the
Golden
Globes, right? And so I watched this, but I said, you know what, this is really awful, but I seriously don't know enough about him to know that what I'm saying is true. I just assumed he was very, very happy. So I go, why? So I go, let me look at the thing. Idiot. I would talk to myself that way. That's right, stupid. Why don't you look at what you're criticizing? So I look at him, and he's in Hawaii or something like that. And he's on a big, and my argument now is you cannot be funny on a platform that's 20 yards above the audience, right?
Right.
It's impossible to be funny. And when you're walking back and forth, your own name is written behind you. I know you like that, but this is something that he seems to like. Okay, so he's doing this thing where he's going, "What's the deal here with the vowels? The ooh. What is it with you people with the e ooh ah?" So then Jonah Ray, I didn't even notice this. Jonah Ray has to tell me by Instagram. He's ignoring the fact that they tried to destroy these people's culture in Hawaii. They tried to stop them from speaking their native language. Like, what is it with the ooh, ooh? I mean, he's also supposed to be a member, I think, of a group, right? Joe Coy? He's from the Philippines?
Yeah. I mean, the thing is that there was a time when I didn't know who Joe Coy was, and then I was told that he was the highest selling comedian, and that also he was comedian of the year at JFL. And then you had a joke in your State of the Industry that year, and you said, what are they basing the comedian of the year on? Ticket sales? And I thought that was brilliant, because that's not how you should measure a comedian, how good they are, that they sell to the masses, that they sell.
People use that argument over and over as if it's not a horrible argument.
Yeah.
Right? They just keep going with that.
Yeah. And the other thing is I've noticed, and I've noticed this since I was just a civilian. I hadn't been beaten up and entered into the guild. And I noticed that, for instance, when Gary Shandling put out his first special, it was hilarious. And then he put out a second special, and he started talking about meeting the president and doing celebrity things. And I remember thinking to myself, I probably couldn't have put it this succinctly, but I said, oh, it's over. His stand-up will never be strong again because he no longer is in the same universe with us.
Right. That's right.
And that's what matters. And I see that over and over again. There are some exceptions. I feel like John Mulaney and George Carlin are able to maintain. Richard Pryor was able to once they became celebrities. But as a rule, I think that there's probably there are steps you can take to not get sucked into that.
Right. Well, how about me? I used self-sabotage. I used burning every bridge.
Self-sabotage. And also there's this thing where you have never bought into your own genius hype. That I call you a genius and everybody with taste calls you a genius, but you continue to not like yourself.
Well, it's impossible to ever. Well, how do you deal with compliments? I think you're brilliant with vocabulary, but you can't go, I've never seen anybody use words like you. And then you're not going to respond with, Andy, I just am the best at what I do. And, there's no way to respond to compliments. That's the problem.
Well, I think I've learned that the best thing I've gotten when I give someone a compliment is thank you. I appreciate that.
Right. That's what you have to do.
I don't like it when they self-deprecate or they try to question my reality. No. I remember I told Bill Walton one time I met him at a hotel and I said, "You're such an inspiration." And he said, "You have to raise the bar." And I was like, all right. NCAA champion and NBA champion and John Wooden friend. You are an inspiring person and you've lived a very interesting life. And he did say one thing that I thought was nice. He said, "I had great coaches and great teachers, and great parents." And so that's nice if you lay it off somebody else and give credit.
Right. But did you feel, were you embarrassed?
I think that's a good way to accept a compliment.
Were you embarrassed though? I mean, were you startled by this, or was he nice about it?
He was nice about it, but he made me feel off balance.
Right.
It's sort of like
come back from that.
Yeah, when you talk to somebody, he's not yes-anding me.
Well, here's the thing.
Yes-anding me.
Yes, that Zach thinks that that should be a show. My improv show should be called Yes, Andy. Yes, Andy. I want to say that I have Joe Coy in two jokes. I have Joe Coy my other punchline for Joe Coy is the woman who's like 90, 100 years old. She either had someone who she lost on the Titanic or she was on the Titanic. I never could get the actual details of my joke.
This is on Hence the Humor, and I love that joke because she hasn't been to a comedy club and she's 100 years, but she's also wants to know if Joe Coy
is in town. Oh my God. Is Joe Coy in town? She's familiar with Joe Coy.
Yeah. But she's never been to a comedy club and she was also on the Titanic.
Right. They're not going to talk about this tonight, are they?
Do you think when all the alarms started to go off on the Titanic, the comedian on stage said, "That's my ride"?
Don't make me add jokes up. I'll have to now add jokes to it. Now I'm going to go, well, I saw the Titanic's on DVD now, which is the way you used to do. We should freshen up your material.
That's what's happening right now. My Oppenheimer joke is becoming obsolete. As soon as the Oscars are over, I don't think I can contrive a way to bring up Oppenheimer.
Well, wait a second. Now, do I know the Oppenheimer joke? Because I saw
No.
your. Okay, well, let me hear.
No,
it.
it's about the fact that Oppenheimer was Jewish, but they got the most Gentile-looking person to play him. And his name is Cillian Murphy, and Murphy is Gaelic. It means I'm not Jewish. And the one Jewish person they got to play a Jew was Krumholtz, and the subtext of everything he says is just the feel of him. And this is not exactly what he says, but this is the feel. If the hydrogen were to ignite, the world would go kablooey.
I must tell people right now, and this is going to sound like we rigged this, but I'm too much of a fan of Gary Gulman now. It's getting embarrassing, and you have to, not because, I could read more books. Sure, I could. I used to read 7 a day, but I said to myself, you know what? I like to open up a new chapter in my appreciation of a book. So I've been getting these audios. No, because I get these audio tapes, and you cannot. There's no way that people can appreciate your book if they didn't hear you go. Lifestyles of what is it? Lifestyles of the
Lifestyles of the broken hopeless.
All right, tell us about the soap you found in the shower.
Oh, this bar of soap is actually a combination of 4 different brands of soap, including Neutrogena, Ivory, Dove, and Irish Spring. Its makeup is nothing short of artistic. It should be put in a lucite case and exhibited at the Louvre.
The thing that's amazing is that you came out with something there. I don't think anybody's ever come out with something at that age that's hilarious. In other words, like if you had called up Saturday Night Live, they would have taken the bit.
I have to give the context is that I was 16 years old when I made this tape, and I don't think Robin Leach impressions are still as current as they were back then, but they were pretty popular. I forget who did it on Saturday Night Live, but it was lifestyles of the relatives of the rich and famous, and it was like Catherine Hepburn's cousin, and she ran a hot dog stand.
So they didn't know they really. I had no. Of course, I should know that they covered it. They covered Julia Childs. Of course, I should. This is the see. Josh and I, we always talk about like there's different personalities. Like the funniest thing he ever said, not ever, but when I was going on. Well, actually, this is when Timothy Leary, they call me Blowhardy. Yeah. Laurel and Blowhard. And so that's really, when you're getting into that thing. Plus, I'm always on the show examining how I am as a person. So I'm just also trying to think, how we're having so much fun doing this, right? Yeah. I mean, I don't know how much fun you're having because you said at the beginning, I wasn't scheduled for this. Did you wake up this morning and went, oh my God?
No.
Oh.
I was making fun of the expression, I didn't sign up for this. But every time somebody says that, there was never any paperwork involved. I didn't. And
how about your pay grade?
Yeah, nobody's
your fucking pay grade. That's above my pay grade. Sometimes now I just get enraged. I go right past the comedy of it. You fucking idiot. How could you possibly use that expression more than once?
Or the people who say, that's why I get paid the big bucks.
Oh, that's right. Or that's why you get paid the best. It's anything like that.
Yeah.
It's like, what? It's like, wait, what?
Because the thing is that there are no stakes. You don't have to pay a fee to use these expressions. And I wish they would, because they're so tedious and they enrage me. And you listen to my book. It's what I grew up with. My mother would repeat these cliches over and over again. And everybody else, they were fresh for, but I was like her sidekick. and I had to go along with it every single night. It's almost
the divorce one. What's the divorce one? Next time I'm going to marry.
The next time I marry for love, the love of money, and the first time it was funny. The second time, okay. Third through thousandth time, I wanted to hang myself. It almost feels like if one day Ed McMahon said to Johnny Carson, "You cannot believe how sick I am of you doing this voice." Enough is enough. Just because you say it that way doesn't make it funny, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, your old bit again.
Sympathy for Ed McMahon, who has to laugh at Aunt Blabby.
Which really is a terrible voice.
Oh.
Aunt Blabby is really bad. Wait a second.
Carson is the most overrated. I mean, I appreciated it, I guess, because I was going along with the crowd, but he doesn't hold up at all. This genius. Ugh.
Well, he does. Here's the way he holds up. He holds up for the. Why do I hear owls? I mean, what am I on the? Oh, before I forget. What were we talking about? Before I forget, I wanted to ask you one other thing though. What
Carson not holding up.
Oh yeah. I think you're right. Yeah, right. But I also wanted to say that Beth Lapidus once did a joke years and years ago about how the 60s. He goes, Johnny Carson went off the air, so you know the 50s are over. That was pretty funny. That was pretty funny. But then the other thing I wanted to remind was, God damn it, Gary, I'm nervous. This is what happens on the podcast. I get very nervous when I can't find my place. And
no, I understand that.
But Josh and I have built a relationship where it's okay for he knows there were I know there are certain stories that he doesn't find interesting, right? So if I launch into one, he might go like a second in. But here's the difficulty. When we do get into fights, and I'm not saying we ever have, it's because I claim it's because I'm playing the dumb guy all the time. And I get tired of playing the dumb guy. Because my father, this is the deeper issue, my father, he didn't mean to do this, but he made me feel stupid. Oh. And I love him. He's my hero. And but he really kind of discouraged me spiritually because he was so smart, and I just figured he must know that there's no God, and who would know better than him? And then when we'd argue about it, he didn't like me getting into like hypnotism or whatever the heck I was getting into, or the occult, whatever. And then we'd start to argue about physics, and I say, well, he goes, I really can't. These things are too complicated. He doesn't mean to do this, but it's bullshit.
Right.
The truth was he didn't know what to say about it, or it was making him uncomfortable. But the message I got was, you're stupid. You're not smart enough to do this.
Right. So, yeah.
You get that too?
Yeah. There's a way that the father figures in my life, which included my dad, of course, but also my older brothers. They were much older than me. And I always felt like anything I said or asked, there was always the possibility that they were going to undermine it or second guess it. And so I had to be prepared with everything I said. I mean, it's clear in my comedy that I am anticipating anybody questioning the premise or the idea, and that stems from my brothers always trying to poke holes and find little loopholes in my reasoning, and so it's just there was no ease or lightness in my being myself. I always had to be very careful and mature, and it just, I mean, they were a tough audience. And,
right.
And my therapist always tells me, and I think I said it in my last special, the audience is not your family. These people are not going to be scrutinizing you the way your family did when you tried to entertain, or if you had an idea or were coming up with something. And there's this other thing where, and we could list a number of different comedians who are not that good, but it is clear that there was someone in their house growing up who found everything they said
hilarious,
fascinating, hilarious, smart, interesting, almost like they had Fred Rogers as their parent, whereas we had somebody. It was like a constant feeling of I was in a debate.
Hey, you gotta tell me this though, but to explain to the uninitiated, because I forgot myself exactly how the joke is constructed. That you had to stop doing around the gym to people. Like it's like who are you? This guy? What is that construction?
Oh yeah. My brother and a lot of comedians use this. They use that formula, and I've heard you make fun of it too. You'll say, "What am I?" And then but you'll go general. You'll say somebody who doesn't know the end of their punchline. So my brother. So I remember if I would wear a necklace, say, because my uncle lived in Hawaii and he gave me a puka shell necklace, and my brother would say, "What are you, Liberace?" and or if I remember bringing water out to a friend of mine. We were playing basketball and I was holding 2 glasses of water and or cups of water, and my brother said, "What are you, Gunga Din?" And I remember I didn't really know what the reference was. It didn't make any sense to me, but I found the name Gunga Din so funny that I laughed along with the people who got it, I guess.
How about the person who was in the show? I didn't even know the show you were referencing. Marcus Welby. I didn't even get the reference. I didn't even remember that he was a coffee guy.
Oh yeah, Robert Young used to do commercials for Sanka. And we went to Burger King on a field trip, after a field trip, and a kid ordered a Sanka, and I was 10 years old. And I said, thinking this would get a great laugh, because it would have killed in my house, I said, "What are you, Marcus Welby?" Which was a character that Robert Young had played and we had watched on the house and everything, and just silence. And at the end of the year, the teacher sent me a warning notice about my treatment of the other kids, because I was constantly making these dicks that didn't even land.
Well, this is also, and I hate to make this all about your book, but where you you thought it was funny to like make sounds when someone would clink something, or you would swoosh. You'd make a swoosh sound when you made a basket.
Oh yeah. I would if I made a basket. This was way before it was okay for people to really talk a lot of shit playing basketball. But I would make a shot, and I would say for 2, for 2. Or the other one was I don't know where I got this, but I thought that the sound that the ball going through the hoop made was not swish, but swap. And I would say swap. And it was probably somebody I overheard say it who was really good at basketball. But then in school, sometimes when kids would get the wrong answer, I would go.
You would do the buzzer, right?
I would go, and the teacher was very upset with me for doing that. And he said I had to be more compassionate, and it really made me sad. I felt so bad.
He's the teacher who broke your heart later, right?
Yeah, he broke my heart by transferring to another school and never saying goodbye, and never saw him again in my life.
Oh my God. Here's what I was thinking. Let's do the notes, because I don't host the show, and Josh doesn't host the show.
Okay.
But he does host the show, though. I don't know how it happens, the show.
All right, let me just grab my notebook. So play some grabbing my notebook music.
Sure. Here's my joke about OCD. OCD, it's easy as 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3 now. Alex, I want to tell Alex, I don't think that we could get sued for that because I didn't sing the whole song.
All right.
Now, that was my first forward. Now, what's happened here is that I joked with Gary that I'm going to send him every tape. But, of course, he also is going to hear this for the next few months, me referencing him in every show. The great Gary Gulman. And so I sent him the very first tape. So it's like this is the first stand-up appearance I did in a long time. So go easy. I don't know. I don't care.
No, okay, so you use the term trigger with 80-year-olds, and they're not getting it because of the verb. But then you say they're picturing the Lone Ranger's horse.
No, it's actually Roy Rogers' horse.
Roy Rogers' horse.
Right.
Oh, right. Roy Rogers' horse was Trigger. Silver was the Lone Ranger's horse. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Roy Rogers' horse. And I think that's such a great bit. And I loved when you talked about the Jets and you said that they were afraid of confrontation.
Yes, there's a good one. That's a good thing there, right? There's more to work there. Yeah.
Yeah. That's great. And then when you were killing in the condo board Zooms.
I'm laughing at my own material, Gary, like an insane man. Gary knows. Gary agrees with me.
Yeah, I love that. And then the serial killers in the storage room.
What is that? Was that serial killers? Oh, the thing about the serial. Oh, the thing I'm going for there is that they have second families.
Yes.
They have hobbies.
Yes. And you couldn't organize your storage room.
That's right.
And you're not killing anybody. And then I loved the book title. The signal to get off the stage couldn't come soon enough for me.
Sadly, I've said that over 5,000 times.
All right, but here's the thing. You never put a subtitle.
Okay, great.
Because the thing with books is there's usually a subtitle. But the signal to get off the stage couldn't come soon enough for me is so long as a title. And then if you added a subtitle, it could be being marginalized by an art form that never embraced me because of my height and lack of cheekbones, or something like that, or anything really in your voice is funny.
Yes,
I just love the idea of the title being long, and the subtitle being long. Because, like, my book is Misfit Growing Up Awkward in the 80s. But
right.
if it was called The Signal to Get Off the Stage Couldn't Come Soon Enough for me, trying to earn a living in an art form that my parents urged me to avoid, and also I have an accounting degree or something like that. I mean, I'm just workshopping these things. I also like the idea of the swim meet where
I walk through the apartment like I'm going to a swim meet.
Yes, but also I think you should put on goggles and a nose clip.
You're not saying as props though, right? Like I bring it on stage?
No. Just you talk about that.
I reference it. Okay.
Yeah.
What does that think? I'm such a terrible swimmer. You have to tell me those two items again. Nose clip and a.
Well, you were never prepared because you're not dressed right.
Right.
So you say, I tell people that I'm on my way to a swim meet, and and then you say, I just have to find my goggles and nose clip, because I think I could see you wearing the goggles to a swim meet, but a nose clip is just for somebody who's not involved in swim meets. Like it's a kid who gets infections or something and swims and for recreation. But
the fact that I'm yelling that to my wife, who took my nose clip?
Yeah, I think the main thing is that you listen to the recordings and keep notes of what is working, and then expand on what is working, because I mean it's the best way to build a long set is by doing long sets, but also listening to the sets you did and building on things that already work, and not having to start from scratch with a joke. And then, especially when you're not doing very long sets, you do this new joke, it doesn't work. You're like, oh, fuck, I wasted a couple of minutes. I already have this thing that works. If I could make this a little bit longer, or go off on a tangent that is inspired by that thing, I think that could be really helpful.
That's so true. It's so interesting, because the thing about this, because I want people to know that I already told you this, but I'm trying to examine as a person why, if you have an envious thought, or you have a jealous, my whole life was like, you can't have those thoughts. My parents, you can't have those thoughts.
Yeah,
that makes you bad, right? So yeah. I remember when I told you this, I saw your special, and I was listening to the book, and I started to get a little bit like upset, like depressed, and so in the old days, before years of therapy, I would say to myself, I have no right to feel that way. And then I wouldn't explore it. Right.
Right.
But now, because I know now from OCD that these thoughts that you have in your head, you are not your thoughts that go in your head. I could actually explore it deeper. Because what's bothering me is that it's been years since the pandemic, and it's time for me to go out and make it and do something. So that's what, I'm not saying that I would never have done it if you hadn't said that. I was kind of thinking, but I was able to turn what would be like just run away from thoughts to sitting with them and learning more about yourself than just this thing of repressing thoughts doesn't work for OCD people anyway.
No,
it doesn't work.
And I find over the years, and this has happened since I was a little kid, I mean, and when you're a kid, you're jealous of toys or other kids' popularity. And I would feel guilty over having these thoughts, because I knew it wasn't kind or strong to be jealous or envious. And then when I started to get into sports, I would be competitive and feel discouraged when there was somebody who is so much better than me at basketball. And I mean, one thing that has helped is having a therapist who is saying, well, you grew up in a family that was making you constantly prove yourself, and they were very competitive, and they were always comparing themselves and you to other people and their lifestyles and things like that. But I also found very helpful this idea, and it happened when I was running frequently. I would run in Central Park, and I ran so slow that people were just passing me all day long. And sometimes I would try to catch up. And then I said to myself, you don't know where they started or how long they've been running. You don't know when they're going to finish.
So
you know nothing about these people. They may have a completely different story than you're imagining. This is not a commentary on you. And with comedy, I found that, for instance, I don't know if you've ever seen a comedian named Chris Fleming.
No, I haven't.
Oh, he's wonderful. He's this incredible, original, energetic, physical, but also a great writer. And I remember seeing him, and this used to happen when I would see Brian Regan. I was like, why do I even bother? I should just quit, because
he's doing it
exactly how I would want to do it. And and I had to fight this idea of jealousy, but also discouragement. And I said, why don't you just tell these people how you feel? Say, I find this so great and it's so inspiring. And in some cases, the people have become my friends. And it doesn't have to be especially in an art form, it doesn't have to be a competitive zero-sum game. You can help people and encourage them and find some encouragement in return frequently. And like, it's one of the great examples is I feel like our friendship is symbiotic in that I reached out to you to go for walks years ago, and I told you how much your comedy has meant to me, and then you told me that you found me funny, and it was very energizing. And so I think it's a great lesson to learn that, yes, we could be bitter and jealous, and the instinct for comparing ourselves, which I think the jealousy is an honest human nature instinct. It's how we react to that I think we have some control over. And I think this choice of sharing a positive compliment, I think that's a very humane and kind instinct. And I think that's really where, once we're able to put aside the idea that, for instance, when I first saw Chris, or people used to say this about Robin Williams. David Letterman said this about Robin Williams. We saw him and we thought, well, the way we do comedy is over.
Right, yeah.
And that wasn't the case. There will be people doing different things, and it doesn't make our takes
right.
any less honest or valid. And it if anything, it kind of expands the playing field and the options, and there are offshoots. And I mean, I remember seeing Max Headroom when I was in high school, and I remember thinking, oh, robots are going to do comedy now. And I didn't even get to do an open mic yet, and the robots are taking over. And when that alien came to Earth, Alf, I thought, well, they're gonna take over the field. And Alf was a flash in the pan.
Your fears of that, well, because the
only time I see Alf now is at the Friars Club.
Well, the other thing though is that the sense that things, when you're a comedian and you see, like, you know, Deal or No Deal Island, you know what I mean? You see so many examples of, like I used to have this joke about, the movie Pluto Nash, about how they pitched it. And they pitched it like, okay, so it's Eddie Murphy as a bartender.
On the moon.
On the moon. but here's the other thing, is that I feel like I don't take compliments well, and I don't think that ultimately it serves me necessarily. It's like when I'm having a really bad show, like there's nobody, you're not in the back of the room, or, you know what I mean? It's like you're just not having a good time.
Yeah.
I'll use the same self-deprecating lines over and over and over again. You know, I'll just keep bringing it back there to that thing. And it's like, what I want to say about it is, like you said to me, like, it doesn't matter what's wrong, you're going to make it funny. But now I know you also know this, but I don't know if you know this, if this is how you feel. I've also felt I'll never be funny on stage again. I don't understand how to be funny on stage. And before I was funny on stage, in any consistent way, I was almost like OCD, almost murdered my ability to have a career, because I would just like be, my hand's going like this. And so the thing I'm trying to say is that, what am I trying to say, Gary?
Well, I mean, what I'm taking from this, originally you said I'm unable to take a compliment and I do all this self-deprecation, and I mean, one thing is that your self-deprecation is so funny, and it's almost a component of some of these jokes. And I also think that you do improvs off these jokes when they don't work, and that's very funny. So you were one of the first comedians, if not the first comedian I ever saw to be doing what I now know is called postmodern, which is that you were acknowledging that this was an act, but you were going many steps further, because other people, maybe Gilbert Gottfried, acknowledged that it was comedy, but you would also cite formulas and other comedians and other tropes, and it was just so refreshing. And I remember thinking that if the audience didn't laugh, it didn't matter, because these jokes had a truth to them and a transcendence that that wife jokes and drunk driving jokes, which is what were going on in the 90s when I first started, that they could never make me laugh. And you are a comedian's comedian, but you're also and you exist in the exact right time, in that you're a comedian for people who are familiar with comedy, that know have seen a lot of comedy, and so as I tell you this, you don't have to come up with excuses why I'm wrong.
Right. That's exactly right.
You can say thank you.
It's the intimacy. It's the intimacy that's hard.
Yeah. It's hard, and we're both people pleasers in that we don't want to be. We've strived our entire lives to be at an identical level to everybody because we feel so bad about ourselves. We just want to be good at something, so we feel at the same level as everyone else. And then they're putting you on a higher level, and it doesn't feel very comfortable. And so you dig a little hole that you can step down into to even it out. And I mean, it can be charming, but I don't know how it doesn't make me feel that, for instance, it doesn't make me feel that good when I'm putting myself down. I feel
right. Well, sometimes it's not right. It's just not accurate. It's just a thing I'm going to maybe.
Yeah. And also it doesn't feel right to be put on a pedestal. I understand that, but you don't have to accept the pedestal. You just have to accept the compliment.
Absolutely. So well said. And I also want to say that the perfect example of the type of comedy that we're talking about that we both enjoy is when I heard Richard Lewis say, he's giving advice. He goes, I tell comics, you don't have to go to LA first. Why don't you could be in a smaller city and you could come, but what do I know? I'm dressed like Satan at a barbecue. You know what I mean? It's like the fact that is part of it is the not taking yourself too seriously, and why it's so funny when Josh did call me blowhardy, and then I could identify that part of my personality and then not take it so serious. But it's definitely a thing. Oh yes, Einstein did say that. Oh, because I felt stupid as a child, I must really tell you that this thing about Einstein, I'm sure you didn't know about. That would be indicative. I'm smart. I am smart, right?
That is the subtext of my entire 31-year comedy career is trying to, because I was in the book, I talk about being forced to repeat the first grade by my father, despite the fact that I was in the top reading.
I cried.
Group. Yeah.
I cried during that section of the book.
So ever since then, I've been sort of proving myself to the world that I wasn't supposed to repeat the first grade. And it makes for a bombastic, verbose act.
I gotta tell you something, man. The thing that I think that you do, and again, you're not gonna. It's just like people go, what were they doing? What was it? The compliment show But the thing that you're doing, who am I? Who am I? Who am I? Edwin Newman. I still think is a great. Who am I? Edwin Newman. You're the thing that you do in the book that I know I would get if I read the book, but you get it even, and so I don't even want to say that, but you get it even more, is what it's like to be a kid and you get your hopes up like, okay, maybe someone will vote for Gavy. Maybe they will vote for Gavy. And then you're that guy, no votes for Gavy today. And you're able, and I've never seen this done. And here's the other thing about this. When we see this in other people, it is a thing like, it's like a glimpse into God. I wouldn't really want to be just like you. I really want to be in that moment of, I can't believe this guy is so hilarious. That's what you want to be. You want people to be different.
Yes.
It's more like, oh yeah, I can't do that. But if you go from, I can't do that, and also I'm a failure, that's the way I was raised, and all those other things. And I think a lot of comedians I've seen spend their whole career, not their whole career, but a lot of people I noticed when I would try to help people, and I was guilty of this too. It'd be like, you're so results oriented. What would get me on Carson? And it's like, it seems like such a small thing to not think about, but if you can put that out of your mind, it's such a big thing.
Yeah.
You're not results oriented.
Right. I mean, two things I'm thinking of. One is what you're talking about with reading the book and then understanding the path and everything is you become empathetic, which I think is a really important part of comedy and I mean, just being a human. But then the other thing is that when you're results oriented, you're at the mercy of a chaotic and it's just show business success. There are things you can do, but for the most part, there's a lot of luck and timing, and it's Colin Quinn always says this thing that his mother told him. He doesn't always say it, but I always ask him to repeat it to me because it makes me so happy. His mother was a school teacher in Brooklyn, and she said to Colin, if you give people a choice between bullshit and quality, they will always choose bullshit. and he said, and then I said to her, yeah, a lot of times people will choose bullshit. And she said, no, you're not listening to me. They will always choose bullshit. And so this thing where we have this integrity where we want to be original and we want to punch up and we have some ethics to our behavior. It doesn't help in this thing, but at the same time, we couldn't have the acts that we have that we're proud of, or at least feel comfortable sharing with people if we weren't this unusual in terms of our approach to comedy. And but if the result you want is to be on I don't know, the Adam Carolla show or whatever it is, here's the interesting thing. Objectively, you have had an extraordinarily successful career. You were a correspondent on Late Show with David Letterman, which is just something that a handful of people that went into this business got to do. And I can't imagine, like, we're such Letterman fans. If you had to draw up what you would love to do, it's one, that he would find you funny, and two, go to the next level and pay you money to contribute to his show. Now, it didn't make you an international superstar who can sell out Wembley Stadium, but we can't really predict what makes somebody that level. And
right, or think, and we also know it doesn't guarantee happiness. It's not.
No,
the 50 billion people loving you is not going to make you feel 50 billion times better about yourself.
Right. I always think of, and I don't know that much about Elvis's mental health, but it didn't make it. It didn't seem to. He didn't seem to be able to rest on his laurels at any point or feel good about himself, and who knows why, and who knows what contribution his mental health or addiction or anything had to do. I don't want to diagnose the guy, but he didn't seem to be a happy person, and his results were, I mean, unsurpassed, really.
Yeah. So there was absolutely nothing, it's like nothing that you can do to fill in these holes.
Yeah.
They call it like the God hole sometimes in 12-step programs. And the thing is like, the thing that I wanted to explore with you and maybe bring this all around, is that I now think it's all about, and I think your act probably proves like a revelation is that, like you said to me the other week, early on in your career, you felt like if you weren't having such tremendous depression, or that you would be able to achieve more.
Yeah.
And that is a fact.
Yeah.
You are able to achieve more, but you know what achieve more means.
Right.
Even though I could say, well, the Pope's on the phone, you're still going to go, the Pope's on the phone. Oh, pardon me for 1 second, fuck faces. But that is something which I think you bring to the world, and I bring to the world, and everybody that we admire brings to the world, is like, nobody knows. Tom Sharpling, I think, had similar mental things, and
yes,
nobody knows that you couldn't get out of bed.
Yeah.
Nobody knows. And now they do know. And I just think it's like the mental journey, and I thank God for therapy because of this. So I wanted to maybe close with this and see what your opinion about this was. The other day, this is I did a thing. We did the podcast, and so we were having a good podcast, and then it gets to this part where there's questions, right?
Mm-hmm.
We do this. We just do questions, every week usually. So
no, I know. I see the question. Yeah.
So we're all of a sudden reading the questions, and I don't realize that we're coming to a thing. I haven't been on Twitter that much. I still get into arguments. I'd be lying if I said I don't. But I'm not in the social media thing as much. I don't read comments on YouTube. I never read I've been to Reddit, but I know to avoid this.
Yeah.
So because I was thinking this was just a question, I didn't realize that this was going to be a guy just attacking me as hard as he could attack me. Basically saying, Josh, it's like, Josh, you really, because the thing is, I've had arguments with Josh, and like I said this to Josh, that I was very proud of myself the other day. I said, I hope nobody thinks that I'm ever, or for 1 second, ever thinking that you ever edit a show to make me look bad. I said that's would never, but I think I've gotten feedback from doing the show that there are people like, is everything okay with him? Is something wrong with him? So this hit me right in the gut. I got so angry, and I blocked the guy eventually because it's like, to me, I couldn't think of anything more. Basically, he said stuff like, look, don't put down other people if you don't have a point to make at the end of it. It's like, if you're not going to make if you don't have a point to be made at the end of it, what's the point of going on and on about complaining about people? Meanwhile, I found out this guy, I confused him with, I didn't realize he was the same person I'd had all these other experiences with, where he was yelling at me for not getting Joe Rogan. So in other words, I didn't connect the two things together. I got so depressed by it in the moment. I got angry about it in the moment. And I went to therapy about it. And I realized that, it is what it is in this sense. I'm not angry at myself. My whole pain comes from, did I do the right thing? I did do the right thing. And I'm trying to let things go more and more. Yeah. But I wanted to understand what happened. I didn't understand it because right after his letter, another letter comes in and goes, yeah, did anybody see when Kindler broke? You know what I mean? It's like the cruelest, trolliest, parts of this internet and whatever it is. And then I had to just realize that, yes, I'm very scared that people are going to say, oh, he's out of control. That's my issue. That's the issue to deal with. That's not true. Whatever they're going to say about me isn't true, and I have to say it about myself and not rely on them.
No, I understand that. A couple of things that I know is that there will always be one person that says something horrible about something that everyone really likes. So I'll post a clip. Everyone loves it. One person will say something negative, and I will only think about the negative one. And I will frequently bring it to my therapist, and he will say, this isn't about that person. It's about allowing people to into your
inner sanctum,
into your brain. You have no boundaries, and so everything is affecting you. And so the best advice is to either have someone else or just ignore the comments,
right?
And you'll miss a lot of the really nice ones, but you won't be put into a funk by these people who it costs nothing. I mean, this past special, you would think everybody must have loved it. No, there was one woman who wrote and said that it was clear that I was bombing, and they had to put in a laugh track, which that's not even a modern thing. There was no laugh track, and part of me wanted to tell her that, and part of me wanted to engage with her. And I was like, just delete it and block this person, and it's over. And I'm still thinking about it. What I would say to that person and yell or in type, but it's not worth it. But I will say you're not alone in being affected by it. There's something about our makeup that we're more likely to dwell on the negative than to accept the positive. And so I just say it's a big waste of time to it's really helpful to have either. My wife used to read my emails so that I wouldn't get any negative ones, and she would delete them and then forward them. And now we decided that it wasn't worth it anymore. So we respond very sporadically, but I think the best advice is to not look at the comments, because they're if you do respond, you're giving them exactly what they want.
Exactly. And that's why they're there. That's why they're there.
Yeah.
That's why the guy goes, hey, I saw you when you were breaking, man. Now, like, I can say that right now, has no effect on me at all. And in fact, right. I wrote to Josh. I said to Josh, I wrote all this to Josh, and he said, yeah, we don't even have to do questions anymore. So I was like, yeah, we don't even have to, or stay away from them for a few weeks, or whatever the thing was. But it's like It's like
you can do questions. You just shouldn't be reading them until they're cleared for kindness. Right. Yeah.
I mean, this was like someone like, in other words, if you really hated my act and you like Joe Rogan's act, this is the way you talk about it, how do you must make sure your barbs are hilarious before you, and I'm like, I'm not, this shows off the top of my head. I'm not right. And so, but the thing is, in my life, I felt like, without getting too crazy spiritual, it's like, I feel like when you have OCD, you argue, and I actually am isolating these voices in my like thinking about it. Like the other day I came in and said, oh, maybe I don't have to pee before I do this thing. And then 2 seconds, I'm like, yeah, you didn't have to pee, stupid. You knew you had to pee, right? So now I'm dealing with that voice.
Yeah.
Taking that voice out, because I think what's missing, whether you want to call it God or you want to call it a higher power or whatever you want to call it, I will never get satisfaction from the evil guy inside me who's telling me. And that's why, I don't know, you ever see Stutz? That thing with Jonah Ray?
No.
It's Jonah Ray about his actual psychologist. His name is Stutz. It's really amazing. It's pretty amazing. And
it's not Jonah Ray, it's Jonah Hill.
And it's like an insane part. You go, I really want to help him, but he doesn't seem to have enough fact. But the thing about what were we talking about? That guy?
Stutz.
Oh yeah. So what Stutz says is, he says it's part X. You always have part X. So whenever I think I'm going to I hope that show goes well in April. And it's not going to go well. What the fuck you talking about? You haven't done any of your act. It's not going to go ahead. So Stutz says that voice never goes away. It never goes away. And that's actually good for an OCD person, because the getting freaked out by the thoughts is really the big thing. And so the idea that you always know that it's not going to go away, and it's always you just doing your thing, knowing that you don't know if it's going to work out. His whole thing is just you have to do something, do anything.
Yeah.
Which I think you could probably relate to as someone who's had like severe depression, or even with my therapist. Like I was telling her about this panic attack, and she was like saying, sometimes it helps, like if you just identify objects in the room, lamp, chair, that brings your mind back out of it.
I mean, one thing, and I'm happy to provide this for you, is to have, for instance, when I was writing the book, my voice, and it's made up of a number of different people and ideas in my life. That voice, it's telling me that everything I write is terrible. So before I send the writing to my editor, I have a friend who I send it to, whose taste I trust. He's a funny, smart guy. His name is Mike Bonfiglio. He directed The Great Depression.
I love Mike Bonfiglio. I worked with on the Michael McDonald's special. I love that man.
Yes, and also he did the Gary Shandling documentary and the Carlin documentary, and he partners with Judd Apatow a lot. And so I'll send it to him, and he's not scrutinizing it with the same amount of criticism and sort of anger that my inner critic does, and it's very helpful. So I hope that we'll be able to collaborate on your next special or any project you want or any joke, because it helps to have an objective person who's going to be gentle with any criticism.
Right.
Unlike what you're calling voice X or whatever in your head, which is just cruel, and you would never allow anyone other than yourself to talk to you that way.
Oh, man. Gary, I love you very much. I'm going to say that on
I love you too.
I don't care who hears it.
I'm honored. I'm honored.
I don't close that with Josh. I never say I love him at the end. So
Yeah. But thank you, and let's continue the work on our on your special, but our collaboration. Yes. And thank you, Alex Brazell, for putting this together. He not only is a great manager who books his clients, but he also books walks for his clients.
Unbelievable. He booked this initial walk.
He booked our initial walk. So we're very grateful to him. And so please keep in touch, Andy.
I will.
And have a great day. I love you.
Thank you. I love you too, man. Bye, Gary.
Mr. Halderman, give those tapes to the court.